Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. As you guys know, I'm off in Mexico for my wedding week, and we've got some extra bonus content for all of you fine folks out there. If you want to keep in touch with me during the wedding week, follow me on Instagram at DNeals. And for behind-the-scenes bonus content, if you want to really see what the wedding's like, I'm going to be posting the full ceremony on patreon.com/Dave Neal. Now, as far as the show The Bachelor and the franchise goes, Bachelorette and Bachelor in Paradise, nobody knows the show better than the hosts of the Game of Roses podcast. So without further ado, here's my chat with Chad and Lizzie. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so lucky in my audience to be joined by Chad and Lizzie of Game of Roses podcast, which, by the way, I don't know if you've noticed my outfit today, but I'm wearing precious merchandise.
Oh my gosh.
I like to wear this
beautiful
shirt when I read my book, How to Win the Bachelor, right here.
Nice.
So you guys have done A+ work with your contributions to the Bachelor Nation here. How are you guys doing today? Doing good?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely after seeing the Dave Neal Gore commercial.
Well, I mean,
I love it.
I'm shooting slow motion content for you guys. I mean, your shirts, they fit the sleeves well. I mean, why not, you know?
Absolutely.
Now, we're mid Bachelor in Paradise, and
Yes.
I love nothing more than the Sauce Wars. I didn't even know I was mixed up in the Sauce Wars. Like, I didn't even know what the words were. How do you guys explain the Sauce Wars?
You're on the front
Well,
line.
we're going to have to send you a
First of all,
Sauce Wars.
I got the helmet on and the
T-shirt for you.
pitchfork.
Sauce Wars, basically, we started to recognize something that was happening. I don't know when this started, 6 months ago-ish or something, that the show was using the official Bachelor Nation podcast to further the narratives that they're producing in the show. In many cases, blatant lies. And you're seeing it happen now on Bachelor in Paradise Season 8 with this Sally Carson suitcase incident. You're hearing Grocery Store Joe on Clickbait talk about how it might have been real, or maybe it wasn't real, or he doesn't know. It obviously wasn't real, but he's furthering the narrative that it was in one way or
And
another.
saying that it's morally bad to go through someone's suitcase.
Right. So essentially they use these, it's happy hour clickbait and talking it out. They will have people come off their main shows, go into these podcasts to further whatever those narratives are, that the villains are really villains and that the love stories are really real and you should like these people and not like these people. We know all of that is bullshit, that that's just how the show is selling things, and that none of this is real, that pretty much all of them are acting in one way or another. So we started to see the differentiation between those official Bachelor Nation podcasts and those narratives, and podcasts like yours, ours, many other ones that are seeing through these lies and reporting on the truth of what is going on in the nation. And so the term Sauce Wars came about to describe the disparity between the truth and the lies. And the reason we call it Sauce Wars is because Grocery Store Joe, who is in our mind the general on the side of the lies, sells tomato sauce. He sells this sauce called Sundays with Joe. So it kind of folded right into it. Those are the Sauce Wars.
Now, Lizzie, I mean, do you think they believe
Perfect
this,
explanation.
or are they just, well, I'll paint a picture here. It's like in dictatorships, when the dictator dies, you have to weep loudly in public, or else you're in the wrong. You have to cry and virtuously signal that you're so sad that your dictator is now dead. Do you think they know what they're doing and they're just taking the money and signing on the dotted line, or do you think they're buying into this?
No, I think they get directives from on high, and they're like, this is my job. I kind of, go with the narrative of the show, and like, that's fine. Like, that is their job. But I think the problem that I have with it is that people get death threats from these edits and stuff. And it's just like, our goal is to lower the death readiness of Bachelor Nation and just be like, yes, this is a produced moment. These people are never as bad as you think.
Yeah, they're almost like bad science teachers, and you've got the fire extinguisher. You're like, they're just putting these fires up, and you're like, all right, no, this didn't really happen. That's not her suitcase. This wouldn't have taken place. It almost makes what you guys do and other independent podcasts so rewarding to see, because I always say, what these Bachelor sponsored podcasts, it's like the old phrase, don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. People just want the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they just, and with you guys, you've coined certain terms that not just provide people the truth, but understand the framework of it all. You're both published, like I showed you your book right here, published authors. You've been in writing rooms. You guys have more talent combined than all of the Bachelor podcasts boiled down into one. They're just...
I don't know if that's accurate, but
Okay, I'm gonna take this clip for our next ad.
This whole video is going to be just me flogging you guys with kindness. But it's so true because you guys can't say it, but we know there's thousands of different podcasts. Every single person who watches the show has a podcast. You have risen to the top. You've got merchandise and books, and you've spoken truth to power. When you started this little experiment Game of Roses here, did you imagine you would be so important to the culture of the show?
Well, I'll say this. When we first started it, we were both high, sitting on the couch in my living room, watching mid-season, season 15 of The Bachelorette, that's Hannah Brown, and we were just like, fuck it, let's do this. But I mean, some of these things that we have done were goals from the beginning. Having a book, like we wanted to break this down like a game and really see what are the modular components of this as a game, what are the statistical metrics, how could you actually win this? Like that was kind of our beginning idea for this was let's do a podcast and write a book about how to win this game because we saw it as such. And then as it, as we got deeper and deeper into it, as happens to all of us who are now doing podcasts, this shit takes over your life and we get drugged down into what we call the pit where the fandom just becomes your identity. We're now there, obviously, but also there was a secondary goal of this, which was to apply these things we were talking about into actual practice. Can we use our strategies to get someone into the show and to develop for them a deep run into the game? And indeed now I've got, season 27 is shooting right now. I have players in season 27 that I've coached. I had players in season 26, Bachelor, that I've coached. And so my involvement with the franchise now it has taken on like another level where I'm actually in one way or another directly affecting what is happening in the show through the players that I'm coaching.
And we've got a speculation, which of course, just like we don't break sources, I'm not going to ask you because I know you wouldn't say who you have. Can you boil down the best pieces of advice that you would believe are sort of like tantamount for doing well on the show?
Yeah, I would say you can never break what we call 4TRR, for the right reasons. That's kind of the fundamental rule of the game. So whatever you're doing in the game has to be believable as you're only there to find love. This is in the main game. Paradise is obviously different. But that is starting to fall to the wayside, especially in the more current seasons, I'll say. You really don't have much leeway to play at all. Producers have scripted the entire season before they start shooting. So every incoming player already has a role in the producer's mind, down to like scripted dialogue that they have them say in ITMs or even in conversations with each other or with the lead. And if you don't adhere to what they want you to do, you're eliminated. So there's very little room now to do pretty much anything. You're talking about like steals and stuff like that. We all thought maybe some of those are organic. None of them are. Those are all ordered and they tell you exactly when to go in down to the second. And if you try to do a steal outside of that, no dice. So it's getting harder to actually play within the game. And so what becomes most important is your pre-game game. Setting up the character that you're presenting to the producers when you apply for casting, when you're going through all of the casting notices, that's when the producers are generating the story that they're going to use for you in the show. And if they whiff even a little bit of a villain on you, you're going to get a fucking villain edit. And if you don't comply, if you don't do the villainous shit, you will go home immediately.
Now, as far as winning the show, what do you when you say here how to win the Bachelor? What is a victory? Is it fame? Is it notoriety? Or is it how far along you get? Like, how do you measure these metrics?
An important part of how to win the Bachelor is that people do have different goals going in. Your goal can be Instagram followers, TikTok followers, which I suspect most people, that is their primary reason for going on the show at this point. But it could be true love. It could be that you are a Shallcross head and you want the ring. So we kind of give different strategies for whether you're going for the ring, whether you're going for the crown, which is next Bachelor, Bachelorette, or you're going for sand, which is Bachelor in Paradise.
I just love you guys. I love this style of talking. Have you had your brains scanned before? Do you guys have you?
We probably should.
Yeah, I mean
I've
this
had
is
a couple MRIs.
yeah. There's something happening in a specific part of your brain, and we'll call that the pit. There is a pit that's just like sort of like flashing.
The
That's
pit is
the,
within
but
us.
it's as writers, I can imagine you see script and you see format. Could you speak at all about how you can see format, knowing what can go into like a written project, and do you see that
Sure.
play out on the show?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, part of how we were even able to start pulling the statistical data out to build these metrics that are in that book was we did a thing called the hyper binge, where we watched every episode of The Bachelor from season 1 through season 25 on 2x speed in order, and we took meticulous notes about everything that repeated, all the different plays you can make, tears, kisses, whatever. And we have these crazy fucking spreadsheets that has all that data in it. But what we learned from it is really the format of the show, not only in its the writing or the producing, but in the editing as well. What are the shots they use all the time? What are the repeated things? And you see more and more that starts to change in different eras of the game. They'll be more experimental or less experimental, or they'll put it in a different city or whatever. We had 2 bachelorettes in season 19 very recently. So they will fuck with that format. But I think I don't know that it's like, for me anyway, it's per se my writing background that allowed me to see that. It's just like a weird compulsive obsessive mind that will rewatch shit a million times in a row to break it down frame by frame and see all of the little pieces. It's just like a puzzle, I guess.
Lizzie,
I would say that
sorry.
you do see, the act breaks, and it is something that from. I mean, I've mostly worked in half-hour comedy, but even in a comedy, which you think would be lighthearted, there is a pretty strong structure, and you want these narrative elements that are in it, including conflict. So you don't want to watch a couple who's just like in love the whole time. And so, at least for Paradise, my main recommendation would be to make an alliance with someone else to go through the whole game, but then you want to have fights in between. You want to have the audience come with you on this journey that's going to escalate in this happy ending that is going to be narratively satisfying.
Now, when you say make an alliance, are you talking about relationship-wise or friendship-wise or both?
Both.
Could be both, yeah. There's a strategy that I was developing for Paradise that I was calling the boomerang strategy, which is basically you go in as a duo, a man and woman player pre-show agree we are going to be engaged by the end of this, and you go in as that duo. One of you is going to have to tap dance around a little bit until the other one gets there, because the producers will know about this and they will try to fuck you over like they did Brennan Rice and Piper James on season 7. But you go in, and once you're both there, you then immediately couple up, but you play in open options. So you tell each other, like, yes, I have really strong feelings for you, but I am going to explore other things. And you each go on every date you're asked on, so that there's always that tension of, are they going to be together or not? But then by the end, you propose, you accept the proposal, you stay engaged for 6 months-ish to get all the spawn con, and then you can dissolve it and go your separate ways or remain friends or whatever.
Now, am I not watching closely enough? Are there signs and clues happening for, like, how do they discuss all this while they're mic'd up? Now, because we saw Brendan Moraes, and we saw that kind of moment where the producers sort of punished them for breaking that fourth wall, or I guess they broke the fourth wall just to put their heads on a stake and say, don't do this. But yeah, how are they communicating?
This is all done preseason.
Okay.
Through secret Zooms and disappearing messages.
Very good. Now, it's hard, and obviously we don't know who you've coached, and that's part of the fun is to speculate, but could you give us a batting average or a winning percentage here with your methodology?
I can tell you that in terms of getting players in the game, like on the show, it's very high. That's all I can say. I don't want to say anything else because I don't, many of these players are still like in the game in one way or another, and I don't want to fuck that up in any way. And also, like, I'll never say who I've coached, but they can say it anytime. Any player that I've ever coached is free to discuss that on any platform they want at any time. But I'm never going to out them because, as I said, some of them are still in the game. but also it's just like I feel like it's not up to me. That's something that they can handle if they want to, because with that explanation, I think would come some kind of ire from the producers. I don't think they would like that too much.
Plus, it's important for future people to want to work with you to have trust that you're not going to share that.
Sure, yeah.
And
that
for
too.
the audience, I believe I did get you guys kind of drunk at my stand-up show and asked you some of these questions. They're a vault. They are a vault. So this is all good. Yeah, you guys are fantastic. My next question would be the game evolving. How do you see? We've seen multiple bachelorettes. Obviously, the show is always trying to stay on top of their ratings. How do you see the show evolving in the near future with keeping people's attention in this sort of like archaic traditional format?
At least in this season, I see them taking things straight from Love Island, a show that is more successful right now in terms of getting new audiences that people are excited about. I feel like Bachelor Nation is a little fatigued at this point with just everything that has gone on. And it looks like we're going to see a huge element of Love Island this season, which is called Casa Amor, which is basically a huge shakeup where they separate the genders again and then have them meet new people. And we also saw this with Serene Russell's intro package, in which she's throwing off her school teacher books and now she's in a bikini. That's a huge Love Island element as well.
Yeah, and sorry, go ahead, Chad.
I was just going to say also, I mean, one thing, I don't know if this is going to change or not, but I can tell you one thing that has changed starting in the bubble seasons, really. Or maybe you even saw it start. I mean, I don't know. I could do a whole like college dissertation on where it actually started in season 18. But ultimately, what we're looking at now is a show where it used to be, in terms of narrative function, you're talking about being a writer, this definitely is that. It used to be a show where we are identifying with the lead, or in some cases, even top players, and we have aspirational attachment to them. We want to see them do well, be happy, get the girl in the end or the guy in the end, and be the hero of the story. Now that is completely gone. All of the leads are treated like complete shit by the producers, from Clayton Echard being forced to read mean tweets about himself on his first introduction to the world as the Bachelor, all the way to what we had in season 19. 2 bachelorettes getting half the screen time, both getting shit on and being driven to nervous breakdowns in every episode. That is not the way it used to be. There is no one you're rooting for in these shows anymore. There's certainly no one you're identifying with. It used to be like escapism. I want to watch this person get to go on this crazy trip around the world and date 30 people. Oh my God, wouldn't that be fun? Now there's no fun to be had. And they have to reverse that. They have to get back to that prestige era where it's like these people are having the time of their lives and I want to watch them do it. Because now it's just people crying constantly and trying to escape their captors.
Yeah, and
in the first few seasons, they had dates where they would go on like glamorous vacations, on yachts, go to Vegas, even on group dates. And now group dates are pretty much always some form of torture, psychological or physical, or you're having to stick your hand through bugs or eat bugs or
right, the football competitive
much more of a shock factor.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
It used to be
well.
wild to see a fantasy suite. Now we're like, all right, old news. Now in the idea of flying too close to the sun being, I guess the film and TV version would be Jumping the Shark, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is when Fonzie literally was water skiing and literally jumped over a shark, and that was the moment where the show was like, all right, this show is ridiculous,
right?
And it was over. Has the Bachelor jumped the shark, or how do they get back to some form of credibility in the world of dating reality shows?
I mean, for me, it has not jumped the shark. It's like asking, has football or baseball jumped the shark? The game is still the game. And I know that it's, we're talking about it's getting harder to play because the producers are exerting too much control over it. In my opinion, a good thing for the producers to do and what they used to do is you set up a situation and you let the players enter it and you see what they do. Now, though, they're even scripting what they do in the situation. That is too much. But the game is still intact, and I think we're just going through a rough patch. It's like in Major League Baseball when there's a strike and half the fucking season gets wiped away. It's like it comes back the next year and it's still baseball. I think Bachelor's always going to be Bachelor, and I don't think it'll go away ever, honestly. It's too much of like an American kind of tradition at this point. It really is like the NFL, and it just requires like whoever's running it to make it good or bad. And is it like the commissioner's fault when you go through the steroid era in baseball? Maybe. In this case, I think it's like similar. The producers, it is their fault. They're the ones making these creative decisions that have kind of like driven it into the ground. But I have utmost confidence that it will come back in the near future to the former glory.
Now, I loved your takes on Kira sort of mentioning that the vibrator she pulled, I can't believe we're talking about this, the vibrator she pulled out of the Sally suitcase, she said it was for shock value. Can we end on this idea of Kira breaking the fourth wall? Is she breaking contract by talking about this, or are we going to see more people defend their actions by saying, hey, come on, it was just the edit, it was just what they asked me to do type of thing?
I think it depends on the situation. In this case, I mean, I saw she was getting, the classic nasty comments. I saw people were like, well, how could you use someone else's vibrator? So
idiots.
The audience is not, what, as Genevieve would say, using their critical thinking skills all the time. And so I think if you're having an allegation like that from the show, that you're stealing someone's sex toy and using it without their consent, I think that those kind of things are just going to become okay to defend on social media, and the producers are just going to have to deal with it. Otherwise, they're going to be suing everyone.
Right.
I think so too. I mean, we are in a new era as well in terms of like how villains are treated by producers. Villains used to be love to hate them, like Tierra Lacazzi, Corinne Olympios. These were stars of the show in their era. Now, if you're a villain, everybody online sends you death threats. You lose your brand deals, like what happened to Brendan Marias and Piper James. And I think the players now are just kind of like, fuck this. I'm not going to get death threats over something that was a fake scripted event in this TV show. I think, like Lizzie said, you are going to start seeing more players coming out to say, this was not real. This is not real. I don't know ultimately what that does to the show as a whole once that sentiment is like largely accepted by what we call the fourth audience, the people who watch. But yeah, I mean, we're living through a very interesting time in terms of like Bachelor history. It's only happening because the producers pushed it to this point.
Exactly. And great podcasts like yours are able to so clearly call it out in ways that we all go, yeah, you're absolutely right. That is like you almost show us where the boundaries are and the format is for people to go, oh yeah, that is ridiculous. So I think you guys are doing a fantastic job out there. I want to thank you guys for coming on my channel here for my wedding week. I really appreciate you being a part of my week of amazing content creators joining me. How can people find you? Game of Roses is everywhere.
Love
You can
to
listen.
be in your bridal party, Dave.
Oh, you're there at heart. How can people find you? Can you just give me your Instagram so people can go give you a follow?
Yeah, our podcast is Game of Roses Pod. My Instagram is PACECASE, Pace Case.
Mine is Bachelor Clues.
And I love that you guys have individual like supplemental content for Game of Roses on there. And you guys are doing just a fantastic job. So I'll post a link in the pinned comment section below so everyone can go check you out. But thanks again for stopping by and talking with me today.
Thanks
Our pleasure,
so much,
man.
Dave.
Anytime.
We love what you're doing as well.
Thanks so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a comment. Don't forget to like this video and make sure you are subscribed. And we will see you right after this.